Welcome to Cardone Debates, hosted by Dana.
And now, a word from our sponsors. Arch Lending is building the most transparent borrowing experience in crypto. Get industry-leading rates from 8.49% APR, borrow against Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Solana, and receive USD or USDC within minutes. Your assets stay protected with qualified custody, no rehypothecation, and verifiable segregated addresses. As your collateral grows, unlock more liquidity, adjust your line anytime, and extend your term with a single click. And with 24/7 white glove support, you're never on your own. Arch Lending, simple tiers, public pricing, market-leading rates at every size. Check them out at archlending.com/debates. Again, it's archlending.com/debates. Use code debates to get 50 basis points off your APR on your crypto-backed loan today. Do you want to pay less in taxes and stack more Bitcoin? Of course you do. Well, by mining Bitcoin with Blockware, you can. Under Section 168K of the U.S. tax code, Bitcoin mining servers qualify for 100% bonus depreciation. This means every dollar you spend on miners, you can directly offset your income in a single year. And that's true for both business owners and W-2 earners. If you have $100,000 in ordinary income, you can purchase $100,000 of miners and potentially offset your tax liability entirely. Blockware's mining as a service does the heavy lifting. They secure the rigs, source low-cost power, and handle all the day-to-day maintenance. You stack Bitcoin every day while drastically shrinking your tax bill. Get started today at blockwaresolutions.com/debates. Again, that's blockwaresolution.com/debates. Welcome to Cardone Debates. We have some really cool guests. We're going to be talking about, should women be in business or not? Dustin, what do you think about this topic?
I think I should preface this by saying I am married to an incredibly talented, smart, and beautiful woman and have 3 daughters. And I'm sorry, ladies, but this whole conversation is probably earmuffs ready, so be careful.
Should we allow everyone to go around and just give a small disclaimer before we pick teams?
I mean, listen, I love the women's. The women's are amazing, but you know, I think this could be a good topic. I think this is my guess is that Grant was on to something last week. My guess is we'll do bigger numbers than any show we've done before with this one.
Oh, yeah, that is for sure, dude. We will also draw great hate and dismissal of being male, alpha males. Hey, welcome everyone. It is March 24, 2026. We're doing Cardone Debates, and we're doing it on a topic that we thought would be as irritating as the topic of war. So we just went out of our way. So we don't want to get canceled. So we can't talk about war and who's doing it. So what we decided to do is have a war between the sexes. Okay? I think it's 2 or 3 to 1, 3 to 4. They've outclassed us. Now, I think there's some really famous people here, some important people that should be famous. And could we just take a minute to introduce them all, like one by one?
Oh, yeah.
Is that cool? Oh, look who we're going to start with. Dana, you're going to do it.
It's an honor. Thank you so much for attending.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you guys are going to want to follow Joel.
Tell us a little bit about yourself before she tells everybody what to do. Why don't you give us a little piece, man?
So my name is Joel Webbin. You can follow me on X. The handle is @JoelWebbin. @JoelWebbin. I am the husband of 1. I'm the father of 5. I pastor a local church north of Austin. So I'm actually a Protestant pastor, Reformed Protestant traditional church. But I also do a lot of media. I just feel like the church has abdicated its responsibility and sat on the sidelines. And a lot of Protestant churches are either just very liberal and progressive, left-leaning, or if they're conservative, maybe they hold to the sanctity of life, for the unborn child and traditional marriage and some of the things we're going to be talking about today. But at least for the Protestants, they might be conservative on the cultural, moral issues, but they are raging Zionist. And I know that we're not talking about that on the show today. I understand. So I am one of the few Protestants who is right-wing, but also believes that God's chosen people are Christians. And I say that unapologetically.
Cool, man. Well, good to have you. Where are you sitting from right now?
I'm in our studio. So NXR Studios, New Christian Right, NXR Studios. You can find us on YouTube, NXR Studios or Rumble. And then we post a lot of stuff just from my personal Twitter account. But so I'm in our studio, and then our church is nearby.
Good. What city, state, or general area?
We're in Texas. So we are north of Austin, Texas, far enough away to avoid some of the crazy, but close enough to where there's economic opportunity, those kinds of things.
Cool, man. Well, good to have you, Dana. Awesome.
Thank you.
Back to you, sweetie.
So Joel will be taking the side of yes.
Oh, by the way, did I just say sweetie? Do we have an HR department making notes on this show?
Write him up, darling.
Come
I
on,
am
darling. Write it up. Let's go.
I'm kidding, Joel. Joel is obviously, we know what Joel's side is. Dustin can take any side. We also have Holly May, who runs a women business. She is she's going to be she could take any side. She's very smart. But Holly, where can people find you online, and tell us about what you do?
So I run a luxury real estate and construction company. I'm based in New York. I am a single mom of one, and I am going to be on this side of women in business because I am very much an advocate of women in business. And you can find me on LinkedIn at Holly May Post. And yeah, that's about it for now.
Thank you, Holly May. Stacy, can you introduce yourself?
Am I good now?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Hi, everybody. My name is Stacy Serrano. I am a founder of a company named Real Vault, which is a caviar/educational platform where we bring all types of experts to learn about money, mind, and wellness.
Very cool. Make sure to follow her as well. And we have a repeating guest, Olya.
Hi,
Please
everyone.
introduce yourself.
I'm Olya. I've been on the show. Thanks again for having me. I'm a part-time investor, part-time small business. I run a small business there selling hair. And I guess you can't really follow me online because I don't have a big online presence. Actually, zero.
Does someone have a Discord button going off? I hear that. Unless that's on my end. Someone's on Discord.
Negative.
Okay, so we're going to take teams. Joel?
Now, Dana, did you tell all these people that one of the rules that we have is that we pick the teams? I pick the teams. There's no like, hey, I want to represent this side. Like I'm hearing people say they have to represent a side. Like I'll come here to just debate the issue. But before we pick teams, let's make sure that we define what we're going to debate. Because I find that most people argue over poorly deformed definitions and constructs, and then we're just arguing with each other constantly in, ridiculous agreement with each other, but we just act like we're not agreeing. So what is it? Are we saying that women are better business people than men? Are we saying that socially it's a fundamental flaw that women are pulled out of the homes? And we're making that debate. What is it exactly that we're really debating? Anybody have an idea or want to throw some butter on it?
Yeah, so we're debating the pros and cons of women being in the workforce. So would it be best if women had never entered the workforce as an economy, as a humankind, or is it actually better that they have entered the workforce?
So we go back to the 1930s where there was no women in business whatsoever except secretaries.
Correct.
Okay.
So real quick, just to clarify, the thesis for the debate is not are men better than women at business or this, that, or the other, or better earners, but would it be better for humankind, humanity, if women had never entered the workforce at all? Correct? Because if that's it, I'm shocked that there is an opposing side. Congratulations, the courage required to even enter into that conversation is just amazing. Go ahead. Sorry.
I would add the caveat, right? It's secretaries, nursing, right? That there were sectors even back in the good old days where women worked. So
Yes.
I would say not workforce, but like, and of course I hope we don't get into the case where we're picking out the rare exception, right? Like, oh well, this outlier woman made sense. Like, there's always going to be outliers. I think we're talking about the general good to humanity, as Joel put it.
All right.
Okay. So
Ladies, anything from the row below us?
I think
Anyone
you
else?
also, if you're talking about the 1930s, you're also talking about women that actually had to go into, hard labor into construction because, a lot of men had to go to war. So it did build up the economy in that way. So how would the US have even survived? So I don't know if it makes sense to have a whole debate on mankind.
I think it does.
Okay.
There are always extreme circumstances. My grandmother, she was a riveter. And so she was doing the thing, the whole poster, where, here we are, first wave feminism entering the workforce because the men are off, giving their lives to protect, the country and their kinsmen. I think that's a little bit different. I'm under the impression that what we're discussing is just whether it's times of war or times of peace, when it rains, snow, or sleet, we just think that all around, it's great to have women in the workforce in every sector, that's actually boosting the economy. It's good for mankind. It's good for families. It's good for children. It seems as though that's the position that was laid out. Feel free to correct me.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're all debating the same topic. So we're basically going to have a general overall view of, hey, since women have come into the workforce, it's been a plus or a negative. Is that what we're saying? Overall, it's been a net positive or a net negative.
yes, but welcome to Cardone Debates, where Gary likes to change the topics.
Well, I just want to know what the topic is so that we're
Is this a good topic though? I mean, Joel thinks that.
I think it's a good. I
think it's a great one. I'm being sarcastic. That's my personality. I think it's great. It's super favorable to my side. I love it. No complaints.
Well, Joel, a few episodes ago, Dustin had to stop in the middle of our debate to yell at his wife to go make him a sandwich.
Dustin.
And you two have worked together. They're like a powerhouse together. But that is kind of dynamic. All right. So that's what we're gonna debate then. Gary, I'm not allowed to pick teams, right? You want to go ahead and pick the teams?
Well, I just wanted to. I think I'd like to see some women debating the other side and a man or two debating the other side. But if you guys just want to do man on female, let's roll. I'm cool. I just think it makes for a healthy debate. Olia wants to say something.
I can debate either side. I mean, there are days I'd love to be in the kitchen, somebody pay my bills. I can debate that side. I think about it all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you make the decision. You know these people better than me, so I want everybody else to be comfortable. Let's go men against women. Let's just do it. Smash it out. Who wants to start first? Ladies?
Okay, that's fair.
Holly, why don't you start? You have 1 minute to present your side, Holly. You start for the ladies. And we're going to have, we do 1 minute little pitch. Then the guys are going to get a chance to slaughter you, rip you into pieces.
Okay.
Shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, you guys repost the room. Let's have some fun today. Understand that we're all just trying to have some entertainment, but also learn something.
Okay, you let me know when to go?
Okay, it's all you.
Okay, so women in business, I think, has really transformed the cultural, framework for who we are as a society in terms of how we look at things, evaluate problems, human society as a whole. If we didn't have women in business, we would still have so many more violent situations. And I think that's just like one point. I think that also brings to a point where women in business comes wealth, greater wealth pools within the women networks. And that also creates different types of businesses that men could never come up with. And with that wealth, women can do millions of different things, including have babies on their own. You let me know when was that my countdown? Sorry.
Okay.
Was that 1
Yes.
minute? Sorry.
Yes,
Okay.
1 minute. 1 minute is up.
Okay.
Who would like to respond to this?
Gentlemen,
Justin or Joel?
please.
Yeah, I'll go ahead, Joel.
Have babies on their own. Let's
Yeah.
start there. What in the world are we talking about? Children need a mother. Absolutely. Babies need a mother. They also need a father. This idea of babies for sale, where we have surrogate moms who are farming out human beings made in the image of God for the highest bidder so that two dudes can buy and purchase babies on the market, or a woman can have her own baby without a father. This is not natural. This is not God's design. God has set up his system for the family in such a way that that baby, whether it be a little boy or a little girl, needs a mother, needs a father. So the idea of, hey, I think that women entering the workforce, one of the net positives is now women can be boss babes and moms and take dad completely out of the picture. With pros like these, who needs cons?
And 7 minutes to spare. Thank you so much.
Ooh, boom.
Who's next? Which woman is next?
I can go next. So I'm presenting my case, right? I'm not responding to the previous
You're
statement.
presenting your case.
Okay, here we go. So I guess I'm coming at this from a very practical side. Divorces are 50%. 95% of the times there is a divorce, the child stays with the woman and the woman has to oftentimes provide financially. So if we are not allowing women in the workforce, then my question is, how are these women supposed to survive? And that necessity, that survival is basically what drove me to the belief that, women do have a place in the economy because we are adults, we're not children. So we don't have a guardian to take care of us. And that's pretty much it. So maybe I'm under a minute, but it's short and sweet.
Yes, I can add to the actual fact of that. The actual minimum wage for child support is in New York is $12. So women who are in divorce situations, and what I meant by having a baby on their own is that if they need to leave a divorce due to a violent situation with an ex-husband, they can survive and have a baby on their own.
Yeah, I understand that.
So who wants to
the problem though is
to me?
that when we look at divorce, it's skyrocketed in part. Reagan, it's a rare Reagan L, but the no-fault divorce laws in our country that made it to where, your wife burns the toast and a husband abandons the family, or vice versa. I'm not happy. She leaves her husband and gets all the affirmation from her gal pals. Part of the problem is that we have made marriage far too contractual and not covenantal, to where both men and women are able to leave the covenant of marriage at a whim. Before no-fault divorce laws, you actually had to prove in court a legitimate reason. The primary reason would have been domestic violence, abuse. That would have been a valid reason. We would protect the woman and the children in those cases, and the pure entire fault would, in that case, fall on the man. He would have to pay alimony. He would lose the house. He would lose the 401k. She would be fine financially without having to enter into the workforce, because he would be penalized for his sin and his violence towards that woman. In the flip side, one of the main reasons that allowed for divorce, apart from no-fault divorce, recent laws that we adopted that I think was wicked as a country, was adultery. Adultery was the primary reason. And as it currently stands, with the divorce laws that we currently have in the country, there are deadbeat men, and you're not going to hear me say otherwise. They exist. But right now, it is more often than not women who are divorcing their husbands, not the other way around. It's not necessarily an epidemic of men who are abandoning the wife and the children, but women who just aren't happy and saw their therapist, one too many times and got affirmation in their feminist tendencies, that they then leave the man. And the court, does this 50-50 split. That's not the way marriage was ever intended by God to work. It's till death do us part. And in those rare cases where divorce is actually called for, someone is at fault. And it's not a 50-50 split. If the man is truly at fault, he's committed adultery, he's abandoned the family, he's been violent and abusive, he loses everything. And she can move with her children back with mom and dad, grandparents are in the picture, and she's going to be able to drip him dry financially the rest of his life, and everybody's fine. And she gets to be a mom full time. Those children get to have a mother in the home taken care of, and she doesn't have to have actually the bondage of being forced to be a wage slave and abandoning her children 40, 50 hours a week. I think that was better.
I do want to say that in today's market, everything is a lot more emotional, and in the digital world and the way that everything is going. So one of the biggest things that women are known for is obviously the emotions, right? So if we understand emotions when it comes to the digital world, then we are going to be able to be the ones that are going to be driving sales. We are going to be the ones that are going to drive, which are the ones that purchase the most, which is women, and women understand women. So in that case, business is going to provide more revenue in any sort of avenue that you're going for when it comes to women being in business. So yes, I do agree with the part of like the family does need the man and the women when it comes to a family. But in factor of a woman being in business, and the reason why a lot of women today are divorcing a lot of men are for the purpose that men are becoming weaker, and they're also becoming a little bit more feminine than they usually have been, for the purpose that they feel maybe insecure because women are leading in business right now, because the world of the digital world has become a lot more emotional.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a perfect introduction to the case I'm going to make, which is the introduction and cohabitation of the workforce has been absolutely destructive to the nuclear family, to the idea of relationships between men and women, which is now we're forced to see our relationships as each of us as an individual with our own likes and careers and everything else. Instead of as a unit that tackles the problems of the world. It's not a diminishing of the power of the woman for her to be maintaining the homestead and to be like there helping guide decisions in every way. It's the kind of relationship I have with my wife, which is we do everything together instead of we have separate lives and we cohabitate when we're at home. We see ourselves as a single unit. It's been great for the corrupt bastards in government who are thrilled that we have double the amount of taxpayers, because now we have to have two people in the workforce, both of whom are paying taxes to the corrupt government so they can waste it on Epstein Island and all kinds of other nonsense. The last thing I'll say to Stacey's point, yeah, you're right. Academia and the workforce has become more emotional and woman-focused, and it has made it difficult for men who, for example, in school are not conditioned to sit all day filling out paperwork. They're conditioned to do other things. And yet we've molded the system to fit women because of men's desire to please women and to make sure that they feel like most men want women to feel comfortable and safe. So the whole system has dramatically shifted away from just standard get shit done to making sure that we have to accommodate everybody, the opposite sexes, all of the extra things that come when you're mixing, right, all of the sexual tensions and friendships and etc. That didn't always used to be. This is in no way to diminish the importance and power of women in the home, in life, in the community, in the neighborhood, but it's been a disaster having like breaking up the nuclear family so that women can go create their own careers and work, etc. This doesn't mean that you should be barred from working, right? But really, I think most women are most happy as the provider, raising a family, raising kids, and taking care of others. I think that's of course, there are exceptions, but as a general rule, I think even the most career-minded women I know are hungry for a family life and a powerful husband who takes care of them and guides them. So to me, we took it's been a disaster, the full-blown integration, and this idea that every person, man and woman, we don't get to pair up anymore. Like we get to both participate in society and the workforce and then cohabitate separately. I think that's been a disaster because it takes us away from the nuclear family unit that made this country and the world so strong.
Dana, yeah, how do you respond to that, Dana, what Dustin just said?
Okay, I'll respond. I would say that there is a need for some women to have to work. Like that's just the obvious. If you're in a situation where you are stuck and you can't get out of it, or your husband dies, I believe that the woman should be allowed to work. But that's not really what the focus is. Do I think that the economy would maybe be run a little bit better? Would wages be higher on average? Yes, of course, because you would lose half of the population that are participating in the workforce. Do I think that the women joining the workforce, do I think that that gave men the ability to have to maybe be a bit stronger and kind of compete harder? Yes. Do I think the average man has done that? No, I think they continue to blame the women. And I do think that women should be allowed to work. I mean, I do get some purpose from it. Yes. Would I still desire the family that I want to have, above a working position? Yes. I mean, I think most women would with the right person and in an ideal world. However, we live in an economy where money is important. We do get value from it. And I think that you can still get value and purpose from things outside of a working dynamic that's transactional that you receive money for. And going into AI, et cetera, where we might even have universal basic income, we're probably going to have to get more into the creative landscapes like what Gary's doing. He's getting into painting and creativity. I think women value that a little bit more than climbing the ladder, like Atlas Shrugged just described in her book, Ayn Rand trying to be the top. I do not believe women are built that way on average. On average, I believe they are more collaborative. So that's kind of my stance. Why are you looking at me like that, Gary?
So no, well, you said they were more collaborative. I have actually one of the women said something about women know what women want and they know how to market to them. I have not seen that actually. I've seen women treat other women horribly. So when I hear about collaboration, I've not seen that. I've seen fear and the glass ceiling. By the way, I have never witnessed the glass ceiling. And I have worked with women since 1986. I have witnessed, and this is coming from someone who just stopped chasing money. Okay, so just caveat that. But I've seen women, we're building a team. There's 12 guys on the team. 2 of those 12 are 2 women, all the same age. You make $7 million bonus one year, and both women bail. And it's like, hey, I'm done now. And it's like, oh wow, I thought I was on this mission with these men for the next 10 years to build a super company. And I didn't see any guys walking away. I saw guys walking away for maybe more money, but I didn't see them walking away just to go sit in their home and drink champagne. And that kind of was like, oh wow, like we keep trying to bring the women into the group that can actually perform at the men's level, and then when they do perform and they get paid enough, at least the 2 of the 10 that I was with, they just left. And a lot of that, and I think that's the decision that really needs to be made for each human being is, and to Dana's point, Dana, like when you get out of college and you don't have a boyfriend, a rich guy that's going to pay for everything, you have to go to work. So how is it that I go about living my life to create my own dreams and my own inspirations, and then I meet some guy, Gary Cardone, and go, okay, I'm going to just surrender all that? One, I don't think you're going to be a good mate because you just surrender something you want to do. This is really complex, man. Like to me, I mean, so this is my question. Of the women that are on the panel, let's just do this because Dana brought it up. Would you prefer, if it's binary, but would you prefer to be at home and support a man and family, or would you prefer to be in business? Assuming you have to choose one.
I can go.
Yeah, go ahead, Holly.
I've done both. So I've stayed at home and did the wife thing and had the baby, and I was miserable. I tried it and I got depressed because my mind needs to be doing something creative. I need to be active. I need to build something. And so I went back to work and I did both. And I had to do that to be a better wife and to be a better partner. It helped the whole family unit be happier because I was happy.
You said you needed to do that to be a better wife, but earlier I thought you said you were a single mom. Are you still a wife?
No, he used to hit me. Domestic abuse. So it wasn't my fault. I mean, I tried everything I could try in my marriage to keep it together, but unfortunately that wasn't going to be my happy ending.
Okay.
I left with my child.
All right.
So your thing was okay. So let me just ask it in a different way. Let's and then we're going to go to the other ladies, but let's just pretend that you had met Gary Cardone and I don't hit women. No, really, I don't hit women. Okay, like if you don't like me anymore, you can leave. Okay, like just tell me, hey, I don't like you anymore, Gary. It's like, dude, let's move on. Okay, follow your dream. But in an ideal world, okay, or are you saying, yeah, that wouldn't be enough for me? Because listen, it probably wouldn't be enough for me just to be a father. Now, if I had to weigh it out, and I'd like to talk about this a little bit because I think what's been happening, what I see with women, is they kind of do a mixy, and they go, listen, I want to be intellectually stimulated, I want to have a game, and I want to be married. Hey, let's build a business together. Now you want to really fuck something up, dude. I mean, bring a husband and a wife together, male and female, with completely different styles and agendas. And this is what happened to me. And I'm like, hey, dude, I don't want to work with my wife. I do not have any interest in talking to my wife about business. Zero. Like, I want to talk about some other shit. If I lose $10 million, I don't want my wife going, hey, man, we're underwater. It's like, dude, I know we're fucking underwater. Jesus. And what I need from her is I need her to rely on me. The moment she's like, oh, shit, Gary's not going to bring home the bacon, I'm done. I have no more role with the woman. Seriously, I don't care how beautiful you are, how much sex you have, dude. If no respect, I need to bring the bacon home. I don't need you to do that shit. See, now this is a dilemma for some of you guys because I'm not interested in having a powerful alpha woman that's on the corporate ladder. Corporate ladder's bullshit.
I'm gonna jump in there really quick. Yeah. I think that there are some.
You see the problem with creating. It's a little bit to what Joel's saying because you start creating all these different dynamics, right?
The problem is there's some personalities like Holly Mae. I would put myself in that category. I can't not work. Like what I was describing earlier, it's just I can't. Everyone in my life that is my friend, or if I've dated them, we've worked together. Like that's just how it is. I don't know why. I have to be working on a project and feel progress. And I do think that Gary, what you're describing, the problem is like with your wives. Did you work with all three of your wives?
No.
Just the last two?
Yeah, I've tried everything with, multiples.
The problem is when
What
there's
a dude. This guy's a total loser.
if somebody. No, Gary, you're just an extreme personality. It's like that's the problem. I think anyone who's like that, like Gary has an extreme personality as well. You're just going to be with another extreme person. Like that's just a like attracts like issue.
Real quick, if I can butt in for just a moment, one of the things that I'm picking up on from the female side of the aisle is, well, I just, motherhood and being a wife and a homemaker, a lady of the hearth, domestic, feminine. The big problem with that is that I was miserable, or it lent towards depression. I wasn't fulfilled. My mind and creativity wasn't being, sufficiently stimulated. And I wonder, I can't assume or, impute motives to Holly or some of the other guests on the panel. But I can speak for at least my own wife, who is lovely and incredible. My wife was, she's an RN. She hasn't worked for years. Praise God. And I say praise God because God has empowered me, and this is his mercy and grace, to be able to provide for our family exclusively so that she could do what she wanted to do, and be at home full time. We have 5 children. When we had our first 2, I was not at a place where I was able to provide fully for our family. And I felt what Gary was expressing. Like I felt this sense of like, wait a second. And then we took that step, kind of a step of faith, before we were quite there economically. And I knew like nothing will motivate a man. Nothing would motivate me. Like I've got to provide, figure it out, make it happen, because I've got babies that need to eat. And so by the grace of God, like I rose to the occasion, rose to the challenge, and was able to make that adjustment to be able to provide now, by the grace of God, more than me and my wife collectively were able to do before. And here's the thing, as it pertains to her, my wife, the only reason I mentioned that she previously worked and that she, that she's technically still an RN on paper, she could go and, do nursing again. The reason I mention that is because my wife is brilliant. My wife is intelligent and she's creative. And she actually was finding the monotony of her job in a hospital to be incredibly depressing and unfulfilling, whereas every day is new in the home. She has 5 children. She gets to homeschool. She's an educator. She's a teacher. They're doing science experiments, and we've got animals, running around the house, all these reptiles and things like that. And she's problem solving with each of these children. She's teaching my daughters. I have 1 son, God bless him. I've got to be there for him. 4 daughters. Me and him are greatly outnumbered. There's a lot of estrogen in my house. But those 4 little girls are learning how to cook. They're learning how to create. They're doing plays. And so my wife it's not like, oh, I'm so bored as a homemaker. She's like, I was so bored in the workforce. I feel stimulated and fulfilled. And here's the big deal. It's like, what is her vocation? She is raising up the next generation of humanity. Like, how is that not fulfilling? How is that not important?
Well, I want to step in really quick because, Holly mentioned something which was her environment and the relationship that she was in that probably also led to her feeling the way that she felt. I mean, I don't know, you could, tell me, Holly, but I think it also has to do with the environment that you're in on how you feel with raising a family and then also being part of business. And I think the reason why Holly would probably feel more thriving into something such as business is because it's getting her mind to be stimulated into something that's far away from maybe trauma, or the previous relationship that she was in. So I think it really does all have to do with environment as well, and not just necessarily of the factor of women just hating of raising a family or wanting to raise the next generation, because I think we all want to raise the next generation in some way, shape, or form, but we do need the proper environment in order to be doing that, and then of course have the choice to.
Oh, we lost her.
Technical difficulty. Oh yeah, up to you.
I
Olga.
guess Yeah, I'm hearing all of this and I'm thinking like it's interesting. It's interesting to me that we're like asking women to have this risk in their life, give up your career, stay with a guy. We're not asking that of men. And so if something goes wrong, then she's left there to deal with that. And, he doesn't have the same reality. And it feels a little unfair, and I hear all the sides, but it feels to me unfair, and I have a hard time with that.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be fair. Men and women are not the same. We don't live in an homogenous
I'm not asking
world.
I'm not saying they should be the same. I'm just saying like you are asking a woman to commit to a situation where
That's
she
right.
could be harmed in the future. This isn't
Right.
about like,
But with good laws, like the point that I made previously, with good laws, there would be a hedge, right? She would actually have a safety net. The safety net is in a God-fearing Christian society. That man abuses his authority in the home. She takes everything. So she's now set up for another stage of life, future provision, these things. He's the guy who's up the creek without a paddle. So you're absolutely right. And I sympathize with that. But my point is, one of the reasons why women feel this sense of I've got to have a B plan, aka career, is because we as a society and as a nation have devolved further and further morally into degeneracy, to where marriage is not. It does not contain the dignity and sanctity that it once did.
So there's
It's
that.
become a contract instead of a covenant. Go ahead.
So I grew up in a very Christian family. I'm one of 6. My father died and my mom never worked. And when he passed, she had to learn how to write a check. She did not know how to write a check because dad took care of everything. And so sometimes, the reality you're describing is just not really real to what my life has been, and what I saw my mom go through. So yeah, sure, great. Like if the laws exist, like where's this city, where's this country where this is true? Because what I've experienced is like my mom was screwed.
The country was right here in America. It was also in England. It was also in France. It was in Italy. It was in Spain. The country was everywhere. And then we decided that feminism was better.
It's not. And what happened to when a husband decided to divorce a woman, she would be left with nothing, and he could take a mistress.
No. No, in Christian societies, there were strict laws against that. There was a protection for the woman. That's not what took place. That you don't. Yes, we've never lived in a perfect world. We live in a fallen world. There have always been exceptions, and there have always been liabilities. But in general, at scale, in the macro scenario, women were cared for. They were protected. It's not Islamic. It's not like other societies in the world. The Christian worldview provided more esteem and protection and dignity for women than any other worldview, including atheistic secularism, which is what we have right now. My concern, though, to pan out just a little further, is that in order to make things fair, in the spirit of fairness, the reality is that it'll never be fair unless we actually make not just psychological or economic changes, but you actually have to alter and suppress things at a biological level in order to actually level the playing field and achieve real fairness. For instance, if I'm an employer and I have, the choice between hiring a man and a woman, I know that one of those individuals is going to have emotional swings. They're going to be on a monthly cycle. They might eventually get pregnant. They might get a bonus at work and then not come back, like what Gary was expressing. There's all these different factors when it comes. And so then what the reaction to that I've been noticing is, whether it's SSRIs or it's, women we need, healthcare access on demand. We need to be able to have an abortion. We need to be on birth control. We need to be able to divorce on demand. And let's just be honest, that one of the results of that, this equality, because I think what we've realized is the end game, if it's really going to be equal, true equality requires androgyny. It requires, a homogenous setup between the sexes, but that hasn't really been pushed on Uganda, or the Sudan or Pakistan. That's predominantly this idea of equality between the sexes, equality of opportunity has been almost exclusively pushed on white Western countries. And the result of it, in order for women to achieve real tangible equality with men, it's gone to the biological level. And so what we've seen in a nutshell is from about 1900, 36% of the global population was those of white European descent. And now it's currently at about 9%. What feminism is doing in real terms, and you may think this is hyperbolic, but this is the actual data. In real terms, what feminism has achieved in the West is the genocide of European peoples. White people are going extinct.
Can I ask you a question? So
Sure.
I don't know if you've ever looked at Soviet Union, where 95% of women were employed and 95% of women had children. So this idea of like women in labor force is new to the Western world, but it's not new to the Eastern European world, where women were working and in science in all kinds of fields 100 years before the Western world. That didn't cause the collapse of families on that side of the world. So, I mean, I'm just saying this is an interesting thing to think about, because you're blaming women in workforce as the fall.
Soviet Russia has the highest abortion numbers globally. So that's how they accomplished it. They murdered babies. Go ahead.
They still had children. Maybe they didn't have contraceptive, but they still had children, and there were still nuclear families. And by the way, the marrying in Eastern Europe somebody who was like significantly older or younger than you was much more rare. There was just a lot more equality between the sexes, but that came with strong families. Not as much divorce, and everybody had children.
So my heart goes out to everybody, because you know what? The covenant's been broken for men and women, right? Like your complaint, the problem is for the men, they are not getting the same bargain in order to risk the entire empire by shacking up and providing full time for a woman anymore, right? So, and we also have this situation because of the destruction of gender roles, like traditional gender roles, that both sides don't even know how to have relationships with each other anymore. Because like the whole way that we've been wired throughout history, we've thrown away for this feminist experiment where everybody is the same and should be in the same roles and can be equally as successful in same roles, and we can pick to the outliers to prove that. But the truth of the matter is women have, generally speaking, have certain strengths, and men are supposed to have certain strengths. The problem is men have gotten away from risk, right? Like you talk about the risk for a woman, like I have to risk it all to go be with a man, and maybe I come out on the other side with nothing. Well, for him, he's got to risk everything that he's built, the empire, like the entire life that he is creating and building. And the responsibility of men versus women in these relationships, right? Even feminists want to be with a man who's going to provide for them and make things happen. The issue is you're under so much pressure as the man to take care of everything. And if it all falls apart, you equally can be left like out on a limb with almost nothing. The risk is not one-sided in any way. I really feel for everybody who's in this current dating pool, because the men are feminized and don't want to like step up to the plate and do what needs to be done. And the women aren't willing to commit to these feminized men. And so we're in this situation where it's like everybody, right? Like I'm very grateful that I met the love of my life. I have the relationship that I want, because I can't imagine having to deal with the nonsense of all of this. But as to the laws, listen, we hear the little manosphere guys whine all the time about how unfair the court systems are for men and the divorce system is for men, right? That we still have the lingering effects of those kinds of protections. So I guess what I'm getting at is like, to the topic we laid out, the fact that we have completely destroyed the way that men and women interact with each other, the way relationships are supposed to function, and that everybody is supposed to be a provider and a nurturer and a caretaker and a homemaker, right? Like men are supposed to do half the chores and half the work, and women are supposed to do half the chores and half the work and half the child raising. It's just nonsense. Like it's this academic fantasyland bullshit that everybody's the same, everybody's built the same way to do the exact same things. It's nonsense. And like that that is what has caused so many of these issues, right? The symptom is everything the feminized men, the promiscuous women who can't be loyal and are always plotting their plan B. All of that is a result of the feminist gender role destruction for absolute fantasy, academic fantasy nonsense.
What do you think that feminist reaction was due to? Like what brought that out in the society? Like why did that happen?
Part of it, I think, was industrialization, the Industrial Revolution, which I'm not saying is, some of these things I admit are complex. So I'm not condemning it outright or saying it's inherently wrong. But we do just have to acknowledge that when the world changed through technological innovation, where work was no longer strictly manual and physical strength, it allowed for women to be able to work in meaningful ways in a capacity that previously was impossible. So part of it really is, I don't think that the Bible verses changed. I don't even think that the major viewpoints of society changed, at least not abruptly overnight. What changed was technological innovation to where all of a sudden a 135-pound woman was able to work a certain job that previously the workforce would not have allowed for, because work was primarily manual. So I acknowledge and I'm perfectly willing to say that that I think part of what changed the game was not just theological or psychological, but technological. But the question that I think mankind needs to ask, and the question that America needs to ask, is, just because we can, does that mean that we should?
I don't think that's necessarily true, because we had women as nurses, as we said at the beginning of this, and secretaries and all of these
That's right.
things. But that was, before we were industrialized. I think women have always
Well,
been in the
well,
workforce, as we were saying. We stated that quote.
right, but not to the degree that we have now. So yes, there were isolated markets where women were working, but not at scale, not like what we have today. And even the citing women as secretaries, even that is a modern innovation.
I'd love to add too. This is from somebody in the comments. Shout out to everybody who's watching and commenting. We appreciate you guys. Right, but I see so much, like, I have a very conspiracy-minded way of thinking. I see so much of what we consume on the internet as purposely being divisive between men and women, right? Which is the fear that is created about being in a relationship and cheating culture and the manosphere. I see all of that stuff, and I think to myself, like, what is the intent of like this content being blasted at us constantly? That women are all whores and hoes who can't be trusted, and men are all a bunch of like feminized little gossipy bitches. I see all of that as like purposely trying to divide men and women, again, on this idea that we're all the same. At the end of the day, we all boil down to the exact same core, and that somehow me at 6'2", 240 pounds is the exact same as my wife at 5'9", 120 pounds. It's ludicrous from top to bottom. Like, so I think that there's an additional problem, and that we're constantly, and I don't know if it's just because, right, it's what the algorithms reward because people like drama, but we're constantly fed this idea that men and women can't be in relationships anymore. And yet the people who I know who don't live primarily online, I still see successful relationships all over the place. So I think a lot of this we create because, like, in response to the way that social media, internet culture is conditioning us to the most extreme cases of like how relationships work now. But I haven't been in the dating pool in a long time, so I don't know if maybe I'm just uniquely blessed at a level that I should be even more grateful than I already am.
Yeah. I think that, if you want to, going back to that initial question, I think there's always been a select group of women who have always wanted to choose freedom over the conformity of being in a marriage. And, that started with getting a vote, right? Having a choice to live their life in a certain way, dictate how they wanted to be. It may have not been in a marriage. It could have, they wanted to be in a workplace that they didn't want that destiny. And that's been a certain part of the population since we've known it. And that's been across the world. And I think that women have been, over men, have been the only group that have been able to rally together to actually change policy. And then policy is always changed back, but then women, rally again and change policy. And you were talking about the Industrial Revolution, the Clean Air Act and the Clean Water Act, that was created by women. Women rallied for that. So if women weren't involved, that wouldn't have happened.
Women have also rallied for mass immigration, for abortion, for gay sex. The list goes on and on. So you are right. I agree entirely that a lot of what we're describing came with women's freedom politically to vote, which is just another example of something that should never have happened.
I'm also I'm thinking concretely, what do I need to hear to be I'm quitting my job, I trust this guy, me here right now, at my age where I am.
You need to hear vows. You need to hear wedding vows in a church before the Lord.
Huh?
Oh,
do you pay your pay your wife?
She doesn't know. She doesn't know. I don't know what would it take for you?
Well, that's the real question here.
Joel, do you pay your wife?
I can't hear you. What?
Do you pay your wife a wage?
Do I pay my wife a wage? All that I have is hers. But at the end of the day, remain the master of my household, and she is a manager in my household. She is managing constantly with full access to all my resources, but I ultimately am the head of our household. But no, I don't pay my wife. She gets a lot better than a wage. What you get, see, here's the thing. At the end of the day, it's not whether but which. Women will work for a man. They'll either work for a man who makes vows to her, who loves her, who is her husband and the father of her children, or they'll work for another man who does pay her a wage. And the wage is all that she gets. And if she ever gets sick, she's gone. If she ever has a different dream, she's gone. He won't be there till death do them part. You're going to work for a man. You might as well work for one that loves you.
The statistics on men leaving women with terminal illness is horrible. Have you ever looked that up?
I have seen that, and it's disgusting. Absolutely. Yes,
So
there are lousy men. You're right. Now, we can't solve for every man in the world, but we're talking about is in general at scale per capita, right? Difficult concept to understand. There will always be exceptions. How do we solve for the fact that that some people get hit in car accidents and die? Well, we get rid of all cars. No, we've decided as a society that it's a net positive and we're willing to bear the risk, even though it ends in incredible tragedy for the exception, for the few. So bad men we can't conclude then that marriage is not a system that works. So what we need is we need to have better men.
It isn't a system that works today.
Say it again.
Maybe it's not a system that works today.
Well, the alternative is extinction.
Yeah, but no, that's not necessarily true. There are animals all over this planet that do not go through marriage vows, that their organism grows and grows. In fact, they're having more sex than we are. So, that's just see, Joel, the problem is, your view is so rigid that Amelia Earhart, would be cleaning the kitchen for her master. Now, I have two daughters, 18 and 16. They would never marry a guy like you.
Yeah,
and they
that's
would marry a guy like you because they're going to be like, hey, dude, I grew up with a father that told me I am the master of my universe.
Mm-hmm.
The master of someone else's universe that pays me a fucking wage. So,
with that training,
my girls go, who are they? At 18, should they go out and live their dream and become creative, or should they, weaken themselves and assume that they're going to put all their energy into chasing the dream of the right, perfect Cinderella man? And I think that would be a gross waste. In fact, if my children did that, I have failed as a great father, immeasurably failed. If all they do is go, okay, I need to find a good man to serve, that's bullshit, dude. That's just crazy, man.
Yeah, I think that the father should be leading the way in that. It shouldn't just be up to her to find her knight in shining armor.
So I should find the right person for my daughter?
You should be heavily involved in that
I don't
process.
know with Saudi Arabia,
Yes,
man.
this is how
when they're 3 years old.
this is how Christian societies have functioned for a millennia. This is
It's
not
like a
novel.
Muslim society.
It's not a Muslim society. It was working great until we abandoned it.
I guess I've thought about what do I need. So what I would need is to know that if the marriage fails, then somehow I'm not financially screwed for the rest of my life.
Right.
That probably is the biggest risk. So concretely, that would be like, okay, whatever we work for, and also like more than that, because I'm giving up a chance to become somebody after this divorce while he remains like on his professional level. So
you can write that in the prenup. You can
right.
write.
So it'd be more than
advancing-
half of financial money, because I'd need money for the fact that I gave up my dream. I mean, I don't know. Like, can money even like give money even?
The government's going to inflate your savings away anyway. And what's,
I have 3 divorced sisters. But 3 of them were screwed. They didn't get a half. They got 10%.
Did they go back to the workforce? Did they pick up their careers where they would have left it anyway?
Well, single moms went back to school like 15 years behind in life, because she has to be in school for like 10 years before she gets a BA. Whereas so they paid 15 years for this.
Well, I mean, I see people in society, like I've had to restart in my 20s and 30s and 40s. Like I've had to reinvent myself over and over and over again to conform to like an ever-changing society.
As a single dad?
As a single dad, it's so easy to say when you're not a single parent.
When you have a wife at home.
I have 4 kids. Right, I'm once divorced. I have 4 kids from my first marriage, right? Who I've provided for and raised, and have had the pressure of making sure that I provide for them, no matter the circumstances, right? So, like, trust me. What I'm saying though is this ideal of your hesitance to want to take the risk to commit because maybe you're giving up something great.
The hesitance is that I have to take a risk, he doesn't. And so we are unequal right from the get-go. And I feel
divorce wrecks both sides in every circumstance I've ever seen it. It dramatically knocks both parties back.
Financially, women are always worse. Look at the statistics.
I couldn't disagree with that more. I know, like for me, right, it was much harder for me financially because I was on the hook for alimony and child support. And right, so now not only did I have to provide for one household, now I was providing for 2 households, right? So like the amount that I had to be able to cover doubled overnight, right? And she had her basic needs met regardless. Right. So, but I'm not bitter about that in any way, because I'm also incredibly blessed. My ex-wife is a wonderful person who's done a wonderful job raising our kids, and we were very amicable in ways that is not usual. So I don't want to use myself as the test case, but what I'm saying is, generally speaking, right, this idea that somehow, like, if a divorce happens, you're going to get the worst of it, completely ignores what would have to happen to get there, right? It could be that you decided that you wanted to have a midlife hoe phase and like start banging all the dudes in the area and like leave him totally devastated, right? Like the what leads to these divorces overwhelmingly is problems by all kinds of different people. And I know men who've been financially devastated by divorce, right? Like even though that maybe their career supposedly continues the way it was, right? It introduces so many other things. And so what I would say is that the idea that somehow on the other side, and this is for people maybe who are going through a divorce, or like Holly May had to leave some terrible bastard to beat them. I believe in your agency that like you would be able to come out on the other side and pick up the life that you wanted to build for yourself anyway. And your creativity and talents would still be there. You can still tap into them. We don't have these lives. I don't know anybody who has worked at the same job in my age bracket. Like I'm in my 40s.
But wouldn't you agree that a 45, 50-year-old woman coming out of a 20-year divorce, a 20-year marriage where she didn't work in that whole marriage, is
time to get a
way
job.
more behind than a guy who's 45, 50?
I think it's hard for anybody to get a job right now.
I don't think that's fair. What you're saying, I don't think that's true or fair.
And number two, I couldn't disagree more. I think that the role that women play, especially so in like the modern economy, is in organization, right? Like I see so many startups and businesses that benefit from a woman, like who, I hate to say it, but like the den mom, right? Like the company's mom who keeps everybody on time, make sure everybody looks nice, and like call people out. There's always like the skills that you learn, like that you would take out of the workforce while you, right? And hopefully you don't get to the worst case scenario. If you focus on it, you have a tendency to get there, right? Number one. So like, but it's the hesitancy, which is if you came out in your 40s or 50s and had to re-enter the workforce, are you really worse off than 90% of everybody else who's just struggling to find their way in this like crazy new world we're living in? Like,
honestly, I think a woman who's 35 and divorced is worse off than me who's 35 and not divorced, because I've been hustling and meeting people and knowing how to conduct myself and doing business and knowing about businesses across the world. She's way more behind than me.
Well, just for the record, I think you're right. I think that's true. I think one of the ways, and this goes against, there's a lot of people, a lot of Christians in my camp that don't like this, but we just did an episode, my team and I, on prenups. And I think because the court system is so unjust, and because of the world that we currently live in with secularism and different morals and all those kinds of things that I've already talked about, because of that, I think that one of the things that you can do going in is you can have an agreement, a legal agreement, so it's actually held and enforced. You can't do this preemptively with the court system in terms of custody of children. So the court is going to decide that, and they're going to decide what they decide. Each party presents their case, but you can pre-marriage, before being married, you can go in with a legal document, a prenup. And if you're Christians and you have these values, there's a mutual agreement, you put it on paper, you can say, look, if the marriage ends and it ends because of abandonment or adultery or abuse, on his part, and that's proven in court, then this prenup is binding. He loses everything. And because what I'm saying is I sympathize and I agree with you that if a woman got married at 25, she's now 45, and she put all of her career and everything like that on the side for 20 years to raise children in the home. And maybe she's the trad wife and she's doing the homestead thing, got the garden, got the sourdough, homeschooling the kids, all that kind of stuff. And meanwhile, he's, boosting up and up and up for 20 years in his career and networking. What you're saying is reasonable. I'm trying to, throw you a bone. I think you're right. And so what you do is you have to legally hedge for that preemptively. That's what I would, even as a pastor, that's actually what I would encourage, is I would say, look, if there's a young man who's marrying a woman and he's just incredibly ambitious, and let's say he's already a multimillionaire, even though he's 26 years old, he might actually want to get a prenup so that she doesn't marry him just for his money. Vice versa, if she's going to be a God-fearing wife and she's going to be traditional and she's going to do all these kinds of things, she bears the risk, the liability that he kicks her to the curb 20 years later when he becomes a multimillionaire and can just marry some other woman who's younger and whose body's still in shape because she didn't bear 4 of his children. And so she needs assurances. But my point is, I think there is a way of actually doing that. I think she can get, so if your main hindrance, right, your main hesitation is, I'd like some assurances, I think that that's perfectly fair. And I think there are ways of doing that don't require, I've got to stay in the workforce all along throughout the marriage. That's what I'm saying.
I also, Joe, I'd just like to add, I think all the men on the panel have not said that, like in a current marriage, home, like there's situations where both parties need to work to be able to make it now.
Right. I had to do that early on. Yes. So I'm not, believe it or not, Gary, I'm not maybe quite as rigid as you think. No, none of my daughters wear burqas, believe it or not. So I'm not at that level. But yes, there's a way of having principles and there's a way of being autistic. I am the former, not the latter. So there was a season in my marriage where both me and my wife had to work because that's just what it took. That's what it required.
And my point with that being that, like, you should not give up advancing yourself, whether you're in a relationship or not, which is, right, there's still things that you can do for your community and for your family that could be income generating or could be developing of the kind of skills that would make you marketable, like in that worst case scenario. And
But
so,
aren't
like,
you just saying that we're in business then? Or you're just going back to the question, if we're making income, women are in business.
Well, that's a great point, Holly. Are we talking about the workforce or are we talking about industry? Because I am of the persuasion that industry, as much as we can, I understand the world has changed, but as much as we can, finding innovative, creative ways to bring industry back to the household. Because in Christendom, in times past, the whole family was actually about the family business. All right? The wife was involved, the children were involved, but work wasn't just a place that you left the home to go to. Work was something, it was a productive household. And so the wife was predominantly, nurturing children, but she also was partnering with her husband. And so I do think that even in our modern era, I know that not everybody can achieve this, but I do think there are creative, innovative ways for a wife to be a traditional wife who's not a boss babe. She's not, going and just running on the corporate, hamster wheel for 50 hours a week. She's predominantly in the home. She's predominantly with her children, but she's still innovative. She's creative. She's intellectual, and she has found ways in conjunction with her husband, with their family, to be productive and to generate income. That's different than the big macro conversation of women going to work at scale in the West.
Gary, you're muted. Oh, still muted. So it sounds like we've kind of...
I said that I think I know the name of that woman. Her name is Claudette. Get it? AI, Claude.
That is actually a really good point, Gary. I do think in terms of feminism, it's going to hurt guys too.
My next wife's going to be a robot, I think.
No, seriously, AI, my prediction, I could be totally wrong. Some of you guys probably know AI better than I do, but I think it's going to replace men for sure. But I think it will be disproportional because I think the way that women are naturally, biologically, psychologically, intellectually wired in all these different facets and the way that God made them, my position is not that women are incapable of working. I actually think that women typically are superior to men in mid-level management type roles, which, coincidentally, I think it really works well as the mother, and steward, executive of a household. And because God made women that way in corporate America, in those mid-level management type roles, I think women actually excel. Ironically, though, I think it will be the HR department. It will be the pencil pushing, administrative, kind of those types of jobs that statistically tend to be more feminine coded. I think those will be the ones that are quickest and easiest for AI to replace. So this whole conversation may be just, a non sequitur because AI might take care of the job for us. Might send all the men home too, but the women home first.
Oh, I think that's most certainly the case, dude. Like this conversation about who's getting a job in 2 years, people are, one of the reasons I started doing the art, I'm betting that there's very little that cannot replace me, except my own light, my own inner ability to imagine and create something. And it's like, why would I bother to go build another business? They're going to get destroyed. I mean, it's going to be like on an edge. And I think actually that might be really good. AI might be really good because I think there's a lot of things that children look. See, I think we're arguing about the wrong thing. I think the true debate is that we've lost our way. We don't really, like I've built 5-6 businesses, and I can tell you that the greatest thing I've ever done is have 2 children and be a good dad to them. Like, be as good of a father as I could be, going through what I was going through and the mistakes I made related to it. They most certainly will have a image of me when they start having to make these decisions. They're going to sit there and go, okay, like I like the life that guy lived. And hopefully that sets their standard for a guy. I don't know where any of these guys are anymore. It seems like they broke the mold, but there's great men out there. Okay. I don't believe that. So, but I don't, if they came to me and said, hey, look, give up your life at 28 years old so you can have babies and surrender the next 20 years, knowing that you'll be 48 and you're going to wake up, one, you're going to have awesome relationship with your kids. That's great. But like, there's that person has the right to like go and recreate. Now, I don't, the women are making this about jobs. I haven't had a job in 30 or 40 years. I create things, opportunities. And so, like, if I had a woman here right now, nothing would change for me except she would be irritating me away from the things I actually want to do. And I don't mean irritating me, but I would have to surrender some of my freedom to accommodate some of her needs, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
And I think,
right. That's part of the compromise. The question is it a net benefit over the long run? And it doesn't seem to me like my dad died when I was 8 years old. My mother was 42. She didn't have a job. She made me 3 squares a day. Dude. She beat me when we were bad. She told the police I actually did that crime.
God bless. Good woman. Good woman.
Yeah, but she had to be terrified every moment, man.
Yeah.
Like now being a father, I'm like, my God, dude, that one poor woman. And she had 5 of us, right? So I don't know what the answer is. The other thing is I'm not sure 2 human beings can raise a kid. Like kids need a tribe, man. They don't need just one little, my beliefs and your beliefs. I mean, I'm not sure how much I actually know is factual. Like, I think I have a lot of beliefs that are built on beliefs and traditions, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're facts. So I look at my children and go, no wonder everyone's fucking confused. Because maybe we just don't have some basic statistical, like our substrate of information is flawed. Like for instance, the comment, hey, maybe marriage is a flawed institution for the 21st century. It seems statistically to be very flawed. You would not invest in this as a package. You look at it and go, I can't invest in that, dude. IBM, it's 56% divorce rate, 72% initiated by the women after 6 years. And it's like, wow, that's fucking dangerous as shit, man. Fly over that bridge doing 90 miles an hour knowing that 46% of the time it breaks. You're not going to do that, right? So I don't even know. Like, I do a lot of work now. Like, I think we're all a little lost, right? And that's I see everybody now nodding their head. We're all just a
lot lost.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
no, but I think we feel the same way. I think we feel the same way as you, Gary. You said you hit it on the head, like, the nail on the head there when you said, like, if I bring a partner into my life, then I have to give up some of my time that I'm investing into something else, which is a creative side of myself, or whatever it is, time into my family, my son, whatever it is. And then I'm like, am I really going to give up that time? Because, what is that worth to me?
Then that's a conversation we never have. What we say is, oh, I can't find any good men. Oh, I can't find any good chicks. No, my requirements are so tight. Like I could probably have Mars, Saturn, Uranus, and every other planet involved. I'm never going to find it because I'm actually, hey, you know what? I actually just want to do what I want to do right now.
Yeah,
it has nothing to do about you guys.
Yeah,
Zero. I don't know if that's right or wrong. Okay. But like, I'm a guy, I look back now and go, hey, I probably should never have gotten married. I should probably have never gotten married legally. Most certainly the people I married, I should not have. Now, when I say the word should, I really don't like using that. I did it, man. Okay, so this is my life. But I look back and go, hey, if I would have had a little bit more security in being okay with being a single male and being worried, oh, you gay? I mean, people were like, hey, you're gay, dude? I'm like, I'm gay, dude. Fuck off. But I just, and I got talked into things. I got whittled down. Society just kind of beat me down. All these women are cool people, man. I mean, one of them's a workaholic, which, you put two workaholics together, and it's not a good thing, okay? Especially because I just want to carry the weight for the family. And I think that's the thing, is that the other person, like Olia, would love to do, like Olia would be like, hey, I'm happy for a man to carry the weight, right? She probably grew up a bit more traditional than the rest of the people here, right? Because she's from a different part of the world. And my mother never had any shame in that. My mother had zero shame about not working. She's like, in fact, I'll tell you something, okay? The most important job my family has ever done is my mother's job to get me and my brother here, alive and not in jail. Seriously, dude. Like, I would be nothing. I know I've created a lot of things, and it's been cool. I've had a good life, thank God. But seriously, that woman was a beast, man. Like, I don't know anyone that could have done that. Okay. I mean, really done it and not ended up in jail, dead, on drugs, fucking OD'd out of her mind. Because my brother and I disrespected her every minute we could. Like, we were so selfish, it was just stupid.
I want to ask.
Like, I really take my hat off to single women who have children. I don't take my hat off to the system that says, oh, the man has to fight for custody. And this is a big deal in Florida. This could be a 50-50 deal immediately. Just, there's no question, 50-50. But the legal system is really challenged, man. I know there's some bad guys out there, but I spent $4 million, okay, making sure I didn't lose my children. $4 million fucking. And I'm like, wow, nobody can do this, dude. Like, I was willing to destroy the company over my children. And I'm looking at other guys going, no wonder they run, man. Like, we're judging these guys. Dude, it's hard to win a case if you're a guy. If you're a white guy, rich guy, with any color in your background, get over it. And they made claims on me that were like outrageous. I would have gone to jail if I'd have made the same claims. Seriously.
Yep.
So it's a very complicated situation.
The thing I worry about when we're talking about the solutions is that some men, I don't want to speak for all of them, but maybe it seems like the solution would be to change the culture now. Okay, women, should be traditional. They should stay at home, etc. But I don't believe that's the real problem. The real problem, I believe, is preserving the respect between men and women. And men maybe think on average that they can preserve that respect by having the woman at the house, when the reality is that some women, like me, I mean, my dad was a baseball player. I can't not be doing something. I don't believe that I can't work and still have that same respect for, a man that I'm with. But it might just take somebody that has better judgment than me in some ways, someone that I can look up to. And unfortunately, it's not going to be the average. And so the solution for some people might not be the average solution. And that's the hard truth of it. The hard truth is that there are going to be the Olias and the Holly Mays and the Stacys. And I'm not speaking for all women. I'm just speaking from the one-on-one conversations I've had, say, with my girlfriends. What do you men think about that?
Well, we're talking. We started the debate by talking about whether or not the integration into the workforce was a good thing, but we are where we are, and that means that we're in such a weird place. Like the way that technology has changed our behaviors and is about to change our behaviors even more, that, like so many other things, this is an opportunity for us to really re-examine like how these systems work and how, like, I am 100% convinced that like the response to artificial intelligence is going to be a turn to human intelligence and authentic human intelligence, which is we're going to want to seek each other out again in communities. How we interact with each other in social settings, in person, right? We've allowed the internet to replace so many of these social interactions that are critical to developing the skills that allow for like long-term relationship success to be replaced with internet bullshit where there's the grass is always greener, there's always another option. If you're an attractive, I mean, we have how many simps in the comments today for Dana? It's got to be like 20, right? Like yeah, typical, right? But like we live in this thing. We need to really think about how do we create situations for men and women to connect again in the modern world? Because dating apps aren't working, right? Like the social media culture isn't working. The one place that I see successful relationships sprout probably more than any other is church.
Yeah.
And because it's in the shared belief system and kind of the shared ideals. But we need to we really need to, as a society, think about how we incentivize, because a lot of our laws in the past incentivized the nuclear family unit and the pursuit of the nuclear family unit. We need to be thinking about with where things are now, how do we encourage and incentivize men and women to have real life interactions and to want to get to take the risks that I think you guys have done a really good job articulating, and why there's so much hesitancy and why we're seeing these plummeting rates, birth rates and marriage rates. I don't necessarily think that people need to like get a certificate from the government in order to like bless their union. I'm for people figuring shit out based on like their own circumstances, but we really need to think about like for the next generation, how do we create things and push people into a place where their knowledge about relationships isn't coming from some like closeted gay manosphere dude and some like openly hotastic OnlyFans chicks, right? Like we need to figure out like a balance to get back to like that kind of incentivization of the structures that actually make society function. I think we're gonna have to rethink a lot of this stuff. Like broadly speaking, I think that's going to be the challenge of like the next 20 or 30 years.
Yeah. Also, a lot of other governments in Europe and Australia, they provide incentives as well for new families, such as new baby grants, new house grants, free medical, all of these things for women that just don't exist in the US as well. Free education, free nursery, all of these things, which does help take that burden away, because a lot of it is systemic to financial pressure, right? Like this is all coming from like a financial pressure. Like I can't afford to have a baby. I need to work on my career. I need to go to work. I can't even afford, because putting my kid in daycare is the same price as rent. So like these types of things women are thinking about. So because they can't ultimately trust a guy, because what if that doesn't work out? So if you have a system like where these other governments are working on it, that it comes back and that pressure is relieved, maybe some of that trust comes back.
I personally would never let any of the women in my life trust the government to take care of it.
But it happens. It's happening for years. It's been happening in Australia for years. It happens in France. It happens in Spain. You get money from the government for having a baby.
That's something that's almost certainly coming, which is like this idea that we're going to pay for people to have children because like we need to sustain birth rates and for growth and right, like our ongoing inflation system demands constant new customers. There's terrible second and third order effects to that though that also have to be considered, right? And I would point to Idiocracy. We should not try to make it a documentary. It should remain a hilarious and awesome Mike Judge show.
Grant, we made it.
Oh, Grant throws us
What's up?
What up, dude? We were just getting ready to close. You keep doing this, dude. You're going to extend these sessions here. You know what we're talking about, Grant? He's out.
While he's coming back, I want to say, like, I think Dustin has a really good point about rethinking this in the digital age.
Woodrow.
I like that Joel
Yeah.
comes in as like a traditionalist because he gives people permission to say, "Oh, I just want to be, I want to be at home." Like women stopped having kids because we were fed this propaganda saying we needed to focus on one or the other. Grant, I think you have to go. So we want to hear what you have to say about this, about women being in the workforce.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think that there's plenty of statistics that say that when women started feeling obligated or were encouraged to compete with men, society started having problems they didn't have beforehand. Now we're having fewer kids. You got to hit 2.6 for civilization to even continue into the future. So the idea that women, the job, if you will, of having children was somehow pushed down to the bottom of women's belief systems as something valuable, when in truth you're the only species that can do that. It was the most important job on planet Earth. And we somehow convinced women that they needed to do more to be valuable, when in truth you're the only species that can actually guarantee our survival.
Dude, before you got in here, I don't know if you heard me, but I was talking about mom. I'm like, hey, our mom, I wouldn't be here. Not one thing I have done, good, bad, and different, would have happened had she not been who she was. And like, to me, when you look at that, you're like, oh, my gosh, man, that's the most important role in this entire family, was the mother. And now I see women going, hey, I don't want to just be a mom. I'm like, well, really?
Well, and I think the other thing it's done is it is demasculated men to the point where men now can't even take care of a family. Many of these men can't even take care of themselves. All they can think about is their own fucking car payment. Like, the idea that a man would let a woman pay for dinner is like just mind boggling to me. I would never let a woman do that unless it was like my birthday and she's like, I want to pay tonight. Or you like my kids. I let my kids pay because I'm trying to teach my kids about money. But I don't need my wife paying. I don't want her to do that. I want to do that. I don't actually want my wife to drive the car. I want to drive the car because it makes me feel important. It doesn't mean I don't want a woman that can't drive, but she can't.
It's so true. It's so true. Whenever I drive my car and if there's a guy on this side, I'm like, yeah, I immediately don't like him.
Yeah.
I'm like, the power dynamic is shifted straight away. I'm like, yeah, you know what? If I'm driving, that's it. This relationship's not going to last.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I think that
Well,
there's
Grant,
women like
what's the mix of male female in your businesses, kind of roughly?
in mine. Oh, in the real estate, it's 99% men and white men, by the way. So, and above 50 years old. So it's extremely sexist. But in my business, we're probably 40%, maybe even 45% women.
The
With
marketing,
women, with,
marketing
with
business.
women, with women in executive positions in many cases.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like my COO,
Sherry.
Sherry, her
Yeah.
husband works for her at our company and takes orders from her. But I mean, she's the boss, dude. Like she's a
She's a beast.
driver, you
She's
know.
awesome.
So yeah. Anyway, I know it's a sensitive issue. I'm glad you guys covered the topic. I'm sure the feedback's gonna be great.
So how is this woman's marriage? I mean, like, is this causing problems? You're saying you're hiring a lot of women. It seems like you're having a positive reaction to saying that. Is I don't know. I'm not. I don't know. I would never want to be in that shit.
I wouldn't be. I can't imagine. Like my wife tried to work in the business with me. Like it didn't work for us at all. Like I didn't know. Well, okay, are you sleeping with me? Are you working for me? Do you take orders? Are we equal suddenly? It was so confusing. The whole thing was fucking the most confusing thing I've ever done in my life. Was this idea that we're equals. And I finally had to say, look, we're not equals, dude. Like that ain't gonna happen. I've been doing this 40 years before I met you. I love you. You're phenomenal. But we cannot, like, I can't do this.
You're
People
not
work
my
for me.
concierge just because I sleep with you. I'm not
I,
asking you for permission.
I tell people what to do. I don't want to have a conversation about this.
Yeah.
There's got to be a driver. Like when you're moving really fast, there's got to be a driver. Now, anyway, you guys know. You guys all probably have the same experiences I've had.
How did you start to fix that or change the dynamic where you're happy?
Well, I think we just both knew. We just had to communicate about it, and just it was a problem because the day never ends.
I think it's about, hey, my job. If my job is to be the killer, then don't step in with a 45 Magnum and start shooting shit. Let me shoot it, okay? Like, just stay out of the way, and then, oh wow, you have a role. Your role is to do this. I don't step on your role, right? Like that. I think that to me is the real challenge. Is like if Grant and I wouldn't be in business together either, because like, hey, who's running this thing? Like it'd just be too much decision making in one room.
There's an old saying, Gary, you probably know it, but what's worse than one bad general, two great ones.
There you go. It's exactly right. It's exactly right. Okay, Dana, let's start wrapping up and hear from everybody. Go ahead, Oya. Go ahead.
Last question. Do men really, like I struggle with this. Do men really respect women who are not intellectually engaged and are just raising children, making sandwiches? Do you actually respect her?
So much more.
Yeah.
So much more.
100%.
So much more. Yeah, she's doing the most important job on the planet. She's doing the most important job on the planet. The hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. She is keeping the human civilization in existence. In our case, those who are of European descent, we are literally going extinct, and there are a number of reasons why. Part of it is economic, that people don't feel like they can have children anymore. Part of it is abortion. Part of it is SSRIs. We've literally drugged half of the women in our country. Part of it is mass immigration and being replaced and H-1B visas and all these different things. There are a million different variables, but the conclusion remains one and the same. We are going extinct. I have immense respect for my wife, but not only her, any woman who is willing to say motherhood is great. Motherhood is valuable, because I actually see a woman like that. No offense. I understand that there are different people on the panel. I'm just telling you my position. The question was asked. Here's my answer. The woman who is excited and feels joyful and fulfilled in motherhood, to me, is actually a smarter, more capable, more gifted woman, because she has proven the intellectual capacity to resist the propaganda of feminism. She's the smarter woman. I'm impressed.
The question I have is, can a woman feel secure with herself and have her own self-esteem being a mother?
Yes.
And not a professional?
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think so. I think as long as they have something that that brings them purpose, like there are tons of examples of this. Many women are not motivated by money, but many like the game of it. I mean, I know that Grant and Gary and all of you men are saying that you still respect women because they're women and they have children. I just want to state the facts that both Grant and Gary have married women who work very hard. So maybe if they weren't doing that, you two would still respect them very much. I mean, they're beautiful. They're wonderful mothers. but that is who you chose. Was there a reason that maybe you related to them in a way that you didn't relate to another woman who wasn't built in that way?
Yeah, I did. When I met my wife, she was not working. She was an actress, so she was working, but it wasn't like she wasn't hammering the way a
That you did.
professional would on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, but you still enjoyed talking to her. You know, you
Well, what's that? Yeah, that had nothing to do with it, though. I wanted to have sex with her.
But Dana,
I wanted to create with her. I wanted to have fun with her. I wanted to love her. I wanted to take care of her. Her job had nothing to do with it. I wouldn't have loved her anymore if she was an engineer or scientist. I probably it wouldn't have mattered. Like it meant nothing.
I completely believe you when you say that. Yeah, I don't think that men care so much about jobs, but I do think that sometimes you have to relate in a way that maybe you're not going to relate to any woman just because they're a mother.
See, this is the problem, though, right? Like, I don't want someone that I can have an intellectual discussion on derivatives and futures trading. Okay, you're not my. I'm going to go to an expert. Okay, like I'm not going to talk to you about it. I'm not going to ask you, hey, I'm going to take $10 million and smash it into Bitcoin. I'm not asking your permission. You want, like, why would I ask you? Right? It's not it's not your expertise. I'm going to go talk to an expert. And so when I come home, let's say that you have this deal, but I'm never going to talk to you about any of this stuff in my business. However, when you come home, hey, I had a rough day. Dude, I don't want to talk about your shit at business. It's boring. I'm not talking to you about my shit. I want to move on. There's another 8 hours in the day. I don't need to talk about business. See, this is an issue because now, oh, wow, I get to hear about your thing that you're doing, which is cool, I guess, but like it's 7 o'clock at night, man. I don't really care if HR department's calling you up. Like, I spent all my life getting away from HR. And now you're bringing it home, and I'm having to, hey, I got to go do all this stuff. I'm
anyone with you is not calling you up about HR. That's just not. They're not going to.
If you're having problems at home, wouldn't you want to talk to? If you're having issues at home, wouldn't you want to like with your children or like some?
With the children's
but
different.
If I'm upside down on a trade, you're never going to know it. That's my point. I'm not going to come home and say, hey, Olia, what do you think about my trade? How do I get out of it? But talking about the kids, of course.
I feel the same way as Gary. I hate talking about my business with anyone, and I hate them talking to me about their business. I don't want to talk about that shit. I want to talk about other things in the world or kids or anything else, but I don't give a shit about the other stuff. Like,
but at some point, it's important to have an intelligent partner.
No, you can still have intelligent conversations, but talking about each other's businesses or kills the romance. You become business partners. You just talk about business.
Yeah, you can
you
play
have
bridge.
to talk about.
You can read a book. You can
play
gamble
chess
together. You can go on trips. There's so many things to do.
Talk about art. Talk about anything.
I think the thing is too is like a lot of women in business are not kind of forget to be feminine and forget that they can still be feminine and be in business at the same time. And that's what's like the whole dynamic that we're missing here is like so many women in business become so masculine to the point that when it does come to a relationship, you're talking to another man and the man is talking to another man, and now it's no longer a relationship. Just like how Gary is talking about, like he wants to come home and have maybe talk about emotions, talk about something soft or how much we love each other, whatever, because you already have the mentality of work and the things that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And that's the things that a lot of women are missing is we're not being feminine even while doing business. So you can be feminine, you can still be emotional, whatever, and still do business. And that's where a lot of men don't like women in business because of that purpose, because of now we all of a sudden are competitors, and that was never the case of this entire concept.
You're right. We weren't meant to compete. We were meant to complement one another. I agree with you. I think a lot of women in business become more masculine. Those were your words, what you said, and I think you're right. The question, though, is that accidental, or is there actually a reason for that correlation? I personally think that the world of business is that it skews masculine. So I'm not accounting for every single exception. I'm speaking again at scale, macro, in general. In terms of generalities, I think that the world of business is a masculine world. And so when women are operating in that role, it's one thing to be the secretary. It's one thing, I'm doing this, to help get through college or for a season, I'm 2 years into marriage, and we, don't have any kids yet. Or there are exceptions, right? So again, hear me, that I'm not talking about the exceptions. I'm talking about the rule. But the rule is if a woman is seeking to further her career, to be promoted, to function at some of the highest elite levels in business, I don't think that it's just, oh, she forgets to bring her feminine side. No, I think she has learned that she can't bring her feminine side because she stepped into a man's world and it is making her more masculine. And the very thing that makes her a higher earner in the business world makes her a less desirable partner in the world of romance. And I think the lie of feminism is that it is presented to women that they can have their cake and eat it too. And women need to be told, and I'm saying this as a pastor, not trying to disparage you, but out of love, is one of the most loving things I think that a man can do, to tell women, you were lied to. You're going to have to choose. You can't have your cake and eat it too. There can be some aspects of she's working part-time for a season, these kinds of, but boss babe, hear me roar, top level elite positions in the business world, also super mom with 5 kids. And no, you can't do both. You have to pick a lane.
It's true. I think you can't do both, and we need a community, like what Gary was saying. I agree with Joel and Stacy. But wouldn't you say if you're with a woman and she's become more masculine in her masculine role, she's working, but she's with her man who she looks up to, I don't think that she's going to be that way with him.
It depends. I think a big part of it is the power dynamic, that you guys mentioned earlier. If that man, like what Grant was mentioning, so if she is in the business world, which again, you guys know my position, I recognize that I'm abnormal and super duper traditional, but let's just go with kind of the general thesis today. So I'll compromise a little bit here. Let's say that she's in the business world, which my personal preference would be that she's not, but let's say she is. I think she can respect her man, not the man, but her man. But here's the deal. I think her man has to be every bit as good as she is in the business world and better. I think what's really, really not just hard and not just a coincidence, but by design impossible is what Grant threw out as an example, where this woman is actually in the same business as her husband and her husband's boss. I don't think you fix that. I don't think you fix that at home. I don't think you can just shut that off at home and all of a sudden the roles, go back to default settings. I think that that's going to.
Ironically, they're not divorced.
Yeah.
So, it is working. I mean, it's working. So we don't know.
Not divorced is something.
He might like to be a submissive. We don't know.
I think Joel, how you articulated that is right.
Yeah, if he does like to be a submissive, I would lovingly say maybe don't. You might like it, but don't. And you guys, I mean, in fairness to what you guys have said, that the gals in today's conversation, you guys even mentioned that one of the problems is the feminization of men. So you're right. I know you were saying it as a joke, Holly, but the reality is he actually might he's worked himself into a position where he prefers the more feminine, submissive role. But the gals on the call, by your own admission, you've said, that kind of gives me the ick, as the kids would say. That turns like a feminine man. And I think that's part of the problem. You were going to say something, Dana. I'm sorry.
No, I just was saying that I agree with you. I think it's a very difficult problem. You're trying to.
This one was a lot of fun. Joel, incredible stuff. Olia, your facial reactions had me laughing the whole show. Like you could tell when Olia's heard something that is just absurd to her, because she painted on your face like a poker towel. It was amazing.
I need to work on that.
No, I actually thought this was one of the most riveting discussions we've had in a long time. And what's really interesting is I think that what comes across in a big way, we're not as far apart on this stuff. I want to just get back to this. I feel like social media has led us to believe things about people around us that generally aren't true, right? Like the extremes of like the worst of men and the worst of women get the attention, and therefore we've labeled the counter sex as being that, like, I think in much larger percentages than actually exist. And I think this is something that we need to very seriously consider and think about, like, as a society as a whole, because at the end of the day, man, we still need men and women hooking up. So like we've got to figure out a way so that not everybody takes the Gary route and marries their AI robot.
Hey, guys, real quick, I just want to say, I hope that nobody was offended, but I really appreciate the honor of being invited on the show. And I came in being my traditional self because I assumed, Dana, that you knew that about me, and that's why I was invited. So I was coming to be the guy.
We enjoy having you, buddy. No problem.
Okay, great.
We don't want anybody to change when they come into my little house.
Well, I'm honored to be on the show. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Dana. But speaking of marriage and wives and children, I really need to get home to mine. So
go ahead, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it very much. You guys follow Joel, okay? He's a good guy. Why don't you take us out, Dana? Thank you guys for everyone for being here. Really appreciate you.
Yep. Thank you so much for coming. We do Cardone debates every Tuesday at 5. Gary has his I Am every Sunday at 10:30. Let us know if you have any good topics, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Do you want to pay less in taxes and stack more Bitcoin? Of course you do. Well, by mining Bitcoin with Blockware, you can. Under Section 168K of the U.S. Tax Code, Bitcoin mining servers qualify for 100% bonus depreciation. This means every dollar you spend on miners, you can directly offset your income in a single year. And that's true for both business owners and W-2 earners. If you have $100,000 in ordinary income, you can purchase $100,000 of miners and potentially offset your tax liability entirely. Blockware's mining as a service does the heavy lifting. They secure the rigs, source low-cost power, and handle all the day-to-day maintenance. You stack Bitcoin every day while drastically shrinking your tax bill. Get started today at blockwaresolutions.com/debates. Again, that's blockwaresolution.com/debates. Arch Lending is building the most transparent borrowing experience in crypto. Get industry-leading rates from 8.49% APR, borrow against Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Solana, and receive USD or USDC within minutes. Your assets stay protected with qualified custody, no rehypothecation, and verifiable segregated addresses. As your collateral grows, unlock more liquidity, adjust your line anytime, and extend your term with a single click. And with 24/7 white glove support, you're never on your own. Arch Lending, simple tiers, public pricing, market-leading rates at every size. Check them out at archlending.com/debates. Again, it's archlending.com/debates. Use code debates to get 50 basis points off your APR on your crypto-backed loan today.